Hi everyone, welcome back to Pandora's Box. Today is going to be installment number 5 in my addiction series. Thanks for joining me on this little adventure. I hope that you're getting some sort of knowledge or education or something out of this anyways. I really appreciate you joining me, and if you could like and subscribe for more content. I do new videos every Tuesday and Friday, and if you could watch all the way through, that'd be a great help for the channel. I appreciate it. So today I'm going to be talking about the climax of my addiction, which was primarily with crack. So the first time I smoked crack, I didn't become a crack addict. I was in Calgary and we had been out drinking, and somehow I lost my friends and I ended up downtown by myself. And I knew I was getting paid soon. And so I went to the bank and I went in to the ATM, and there's a homeless guy sleeping in there. And he started talking to me. He was really nice, and wow, this is going to come out as a bad story. Anyways, so we got to talking, and I told him that I was looking to do something, fun, exciting. So he told me he could get us some crack. So I took out $80. We called a cab. We got in this cab. We drove 3 or 4 blocks around downtown, and we stopped in front of a hotel. And somebody just walked up to the passenger side door, and the guy said, "I want half a cookie," and gave him my money, and he gave us something, and then he told the cab driver to drop us back off. And so we did, and we went into another bank ATM lobby, and I'll tell you, don't ever do crack. But I remember that the first puff I took, if you're a smoker or you smoke pot or you've ever been a smoker, you'll understand this metaphor, I guess. It hit me before I even had time to exhale. And it was the most euphoric feeling I've ever felt. It was more intense than ecstasy. It was just amazing. And then I turned around and I power puked. Anyway, so long story short, that was my first experience with crack. It wouldn't be my last one in Calgary. It was very strange when I lived there because, once in a while we just decide we wanted to do something on a Friday night when we were drinking. We'd go get some, do it, and that would be it. And we never had a problem with it. So then fast forward a year now, and I'm back in Yarmouth, and I've been partying and living with friends, and things are finally starting to pile up. And I remember I think it was my 24th birthday, maybe my 25th, I don't remember. But I was at the bar and I was drunk, and there was no one there. I was celebrating my birthday on my own. I was single. I was feeling really down. The depression had finally caught up to me, and there was a guy there that I knew smoked crack. And so I went up to him, talked to him, and I told him, I'm looking for some crack. So we went and we got some. And I'll tell you, the crack in Yarmouth was way stronger than the stuff in Calgary. Same thing with the cocaine. I don't know why. Maybe it's weaker out there for some reason. I haven't the faintest idea. But it was different, and it was stronger. And I can honestly say that I was addicted right away, right from the get-go. And yeah, so that became a daily thing. And after a while, I'd be smoking at work, ducking into the bathrooms. It's just, I was stealing. I'd break into people's houses that I knew, steal money. I stole drugs to trade for more drugs. Um, it was bad. I was sleeping in a car. At one point, after I lost my job, I became kind of his driver. So, he needed to go to the grocery store. I'd take him to the grocery store to give me some crack. Um, he used to, he would sell crack so he could buy Dilaudid so him and his wife could shoot up. So he'd get his Dilaudid from the valley. So after a while, I started driving him up from Yarmouth to the valley, and I'd get paid in crack for doing that, and he'd pay my gas. And, it got to the point that, I was sleeping in my car. I was pissing into empty pop bottles. Like, it was bad. I remember I was sleeping down by the wharf one night waiting to pick him up at 4 in the morning, and man, it was so cold. I was like shivering. I couldn't sleep. It was freezing, and I don't, you know, eh, for what? For drugs. And, I started obviously lying. I stole, I conned, I grifted, I did everything possible because when you're addicted to, well, anything, but for me it was crack. When you're addicted to crack, it's all consuming. It's everything you think about all the time, day in and day in, not out. There's nothing else matters, and it really is like that. Like, there's nothing that I wouldn't have done for some crack. And I mean, I did do a lot of things for crack. After a while, I would be a sober driver, and so I would drive people home from the bar for money, and then take that money and go buy crack. Um, One time I remember, like, this is the desperation that an addiction can create. I had no money, had no crack, and I was jonesing really hard. It was winter, but it wasn't like too much snow on the ground. But anyways, I literally punched myself in the face and bruised myself up. Then I rolled in the dirt and the mud, and then I took out a pocket knife and cut my arm so I could have some blood to smear over, and then went into the bar nearby and pretended that I got jumped and my wallet got stolen so that people would give me money. They did. They did. I mean, who does that? What kind of person does that? An addict does that because the ends justifies the means, and there's nothing you won't do. I once convinced a 60-year-old man. Um, he had paid me $40 to drive him home, pretty far out, and so I took the money early. Went, got crack, smoked it, ran out of money and crack. So then at the end of the night, when it was time for him to go home, and I was dropping him off, I was like, "Hey man, you got my money?" And he's like, "Didn't I give it to you?" And I was like, "No, no." I conned the guy out of an extra $40. I mean, so I could smoke some crack. I remember drove a group of people home, and they invited me in, and I went in, and well, I still had crack then, but I went up to their bathroom, smoked crack, came back down. Everyone was in the kitchen or another room, and somebody left their wallet, and I just opened it up and I took money. Didn't take it all because I knew better. They'd know, but just a little bit. There's nothing you won't do to get high or drunk, because I've seen alcoholics be just as bad. So, I lost my jobs. I had two at the time when I first got into it, and I think everyone knew. And when I first started out, people tried to get me to stop and show their concern, but after a while, people just kind of knew. And it got to a point where, and I know this is my experience, but as an addict, I hated my, as an addict, I was fine with what I was doing, but as a person, I hated myself. Like, people say addiction is a very selfish disease, and that's not a lie. But I know the damage we cause and the pain we cause, and we know it too. And we know when we're doing it, no matter how out of it we might be. We know when we're hurting people, the people we love, the people we care about. And we carry that. And then it just compounds onto whatever was there before. And then it just drives us further into addiction. It's a really twisted cycle. And, like, I can remember near the end, um, I was back living with my parents and smoking crack literally in the next room from them at night when they were sleeping. And when I ran out, I remember many times crying myself to sleep, wishing that I wouldn't wake up, wishing to just die in my sleep because I was too much of a coward to do it myself. But I hated myself so much that I wanted to die because I couldn't stop myself. And the most twisted, messed up thing about all of that, about the lying, the stealing, the hurting people, And carrying the guilt and wanting to die is that all I had to do was get up, walk 10 feet across the room, and knock on a door and say, "Mom, Dad, I need help." Just that simple act of just asking for help. It was beyond me. It's beyond most addicts. Um, and I never did it. And recovery was a struggle. There were some relapses, and I'm going to talk about recovery in the next video. I'm going to try and keep these videos a little shorter than the 20 minutes before. The point being was that crack became all-consuming, all-driving, and not having it was intense. You sorry, it's a lot of things I want to say. Like when you envision like a crackhead from the movies and you see them jonesing and crawling on the floor. I did that. I crawled on the floor on the carpet looking for pieces of crack that I knew were not there, but looked for them anyways because I was so desperate to get high. And when you're desperate to get high, there is nothing that you won't do. And it's not that you don't care or you lack empathy or guilt or anything like that. It's just the addiction overrides all of those things. You're not in control. You are literally somebody else. And it takes I guess it depends on the person, but it takes a while to come to terms with that, if you're not careful, you are no longer in control of the choices you make. So that first choice was mine. After that, it became beyond my control. That doesn't excuse me of my responsibility for my actions. It just means that I was quite literally insane. And we talk about that in recovery. And we'll again, I'll bring that up in the next video. But of all the drugs I did, I never picked up a needle or anything like that. But there were none that were so addictive and necessary for me. I felt like crack was. And again, it wasn't just crack. It was, or maybe, because when I was in Alberta, when I was in Calgary, like I said, weekend thing, no problem, never worried about it. Came back to Yarmouth, did it once, and I was addicted. So I mean, it must be obviously the strength of the narcotic, but so crack ruined my life. I lost my jobs, I had multiple jobs. I lost my partner. I almost lost my parents. I lost a lot of friends. And it's taken a long time to come back from that. And for me, in the worst parts near the end, it was like looking into an abyss and jumping in. There was such a feeling of helplessness. And that's something that all addicts experience. And if you have an addict in your life, they are experiencing that now. They know the pain they're causing and the hurt they're causing. That doesn't change their responsibility for what they're doing, but they're aware of it. So, I was going to tell a few more stories, but I don't want to cause anyone any problems, triggers, or flashbacks, but I think you kind of get the gist of, how dangerous doing drugs can possibly be. You can think you're all right. You can think you're in control. Because I always thought I was in control. The alcohol, the ecstasy, even crack and cocaine when I lived out west. Um, but I wasn't. Not even close. And acknowledging that when I finally got sober was the biggest and the hardest step. But once I got there, the rest of it started to be a little bit easier. So, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate all of you who have come take the time to watch and subscribe to the channel, like the videos. Um, and next time we're going to talk about recovery. And recovery is hard. I won't lie to you. But we'll save that for the next video. So until then, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time on Pandora's Box.